Even within his own cabinet, there were people who were concerned about what the prime minister was about to do.
It all makes sense now. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. Today we got some polling data that explains why the Liberals and Mark Carney walked away from this deal that America was offering us. We got the chaos going back and forth, a lot of mudslinging, a whole bunch of stuff here. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, things are not good in Canada, and this trade war is not going to help. We've got this one from CBC showing 42% drop in Vancouver housing starts prompts worry from Development Advocate. Urban Development Institute says plunge signals worst housing downturn in 30 years. We've got this one from CTV News showing it's tragic, it's scary, unpaid property taxes climb to 38 million in Cambridge. People already can't afford to live in Canada, and this is going to make things worse. People are going to lose their jobs. Carney's going to put dollar for dollar tariffs on it. It's going to make life more unaffordable. Now jumping over to Global News, they got some more of the mudslinging that I haven't really showed on the channel here. Donald Trump is super pissed off with what Carney did.
Trump is frustrated and angry. And that suggests a former U.S. trade representative makes getting a deal hard.
This is going to be a very difficult negotiation because, importantly, there's not a lot of trust between both sides now. It does look like we're in this escalatory period where things are going to get a lot worse before they get better.
Trump ally Senator Ted Cruz says the goal should be more trade. But about Mark Carney?
Look, I mean, Mark Carney's beating his chest, and that's okay. I think it's a little performative.
In one post, Trump once again called the prime minister governor. He said the U.S. will always be far bigger, richer, and stronger than Canada. But in his efforts to diminish this country, could he end up diminishing his own? Eric Sorensen, Global.
This is interesting framing. So he's talking about Donald Trump diminishing his own country. How about Mark Carney diminishing our country? You notice they don't say that on Global News here.
Now, as all of this unfolds, Canada's premiers are calling for unity in their response to the escalating trade war. As Gillian Piper reports, Ontario Premier Doug Ford is once again leading the charge with words that drew fire directly from the White House.
Doug Ford is an absolute buffoon, and then these premiers calling for unity, they haven't even dropped the trade barriers between the provinces. Like, there's a bunch of clowns running these provinces.
This guy's a loser. He's going to be a loser.
Those attacks on Donald Trump got a whole lot more personal.
And I have a lot of real estate on my ass, so he has a lot of room to kiss my ass.
And it wasn't just insults Doug Ford was throwing around.
We're actually giving electricity to companies to make products to compete against us. That needs to stop.
Those jabs caught Trump's attention. Lots of bluster from Doug.
So I read all this out in the previous video, and Doug's saying we're giving electricity. They're buying it. They're buying a product. You're not just giving it over.
I have more courage, more brains in my baby toe than he has in his whole body.
The insults kept coming, with Ford calling Trump a dictator, a back and forth reminiscent of last year when the premier ultimately backed down from imposing a 25% electricity surcharge.
Trade barriers hurt every American worker.
And Trump lashed out over Ontario's anti-tariff ads featuring Ronald Reagan, which halted trade talks last fall.
They did a fake ad yesterday. They were caught.
Ford says he is holding off for now on bringing those ads back, but he is urging Canada to put up a fight, a view broadly shared by the premiers.
They're just drumming up this whole narrative, oh, we need to fight back. No, Carney just needs to send Trudeau's babysitter, Dominic LeBlanc, and Janice Charette back down to Washington to actually negotiate. Now, they're not going to do that because of the polling data, which we'll get to here in a second.
We need to see something that is going to hit them where it hurts and have an impact.
We have to hit back. And I think it's unfortunate because we've been friends for so many years.
But Alberta's Danielle Smith criticizes the Prime Minister's promised counter tariffs.
I would say part of the reason why we've had a light touch of tariffs on Alberta is that we've engaged in a very constructive diplomatic relationship with the United States.
While not calling Smith out by name, Ford told reporters that a couple of premiers have a lot of power to protect Canada.
This is just unbelievable. Doug Ford wants her to cut off the oil. Yeah, right. It's not Canada's oil, it's Alberta's oil. Alberta pays taxes to the government, but Doug Ford doesn't get to just throw his hands up in the air and dictate what Alberta's going to do with that oil. They're going to keep piping it down to America. We're not going to destabilize our entire economy because we have a couple of buffoons, hotheads in different positions here. Carney just loves this. Everything is working exactly to plan. He doesn't care about destroying so many Canadians' lives to destabilize everything here just to get his polling numbers to go back up.
Referencing energy resources like those in Alberta, saying everything needs to be on the table to push back against Donald Trump.
Oh, it's all about pushing back against Donald Trump. So we got Table Salt sharing this here, which is the transfer of energy oil pipelines from Canada to America. And as mentioned in the previous video, so line 5, this one right here, this is the one I was mentioning before. That comes from Hardisty, from Edmonton. Oil gets piped down to America, line 5, and then goes up through Sarnia. So America can just shut off the oil, and the east of Canada doesn't get any oil. Like, this is dumb. You can't cut off the electricity, put on a surcharge. They'll put a surcharge on all the oil that comes back up into Canada. Let's not be stupid now. You know, if we actually built a pipeline that went across Canada, then we would have them by the cojones. We could do that. It'd be pretty nasty, but we would have that power. But because we've had the Liberals in power for the last 11 years, we don't have that. We don't have an eastward pipeline. Now, looking at the polling data, this just summarizes exactly what's happened here. So Shreya's posting this new Polywave poll from North Vancouver Capilano, and he mentions these polls were before the trade talks have collapsed, and that's an important factor here. Going on Shreya's website here, so North Vancouver Capilano, this is the one we're talking about. Look at this. So Braden Cayley, this is that guy who's been in Mark Carney's inner circle for a long time, and Carney's like, okay, now's your time to step in as an MP and come out into the spotlight. You see this over here? Minus 13.1%, 46.8 to 30.3% for Stephen Curran of the Conservatives. So the Conservatives are down 3.4% in this poll from the last one, but the Liberals are down 13%. And you can see, where did that go? It went to the NDP plus 7.7 and the Greens plus 9.1%. The Liberals have lost a ton of ground here in North Vancouver Capilano. This is a very Liberal area. Now, if we look at Chicoutimi Le Fjord, the Liberals are up here plus 8.7%. The Bloc is up. This is one I mentioned. Anyone who's a Conservative in this riding, you got to vote for the Bloc. Like, we got to stick it to these guys. But that aside, look what's happening in Beaches East York. This is also a very Liberal riding. Minus 12.6. Are you kidding me? They are tanking so bad in 2 of these ridings. Now, they're not going to lose this. They're still going to get it. But this is an overall indicator. If in Liberal strongholds they are tanking this bad, then what does that say? People are not trusting what Carney's doing. So what do? They're like, we can't take this deal. They'll probably drop 5 to 10% across the board across Canada, because like, okay, Carney did his thing. Now maybe start looking at another party or another leader for Canada. That's what Canadians would think. Instead, what does he do? Flares up Donald Trump. Oh, we have to fight back against the evil Donald Trump. That's all they're doing here. Carney put out a whole bunch of bull crap, the reasons why, saying Quebec language, all this kind of stuff, and people bought it. And then now they're pushing out propaganda, a misrepresentation of what's actually happening. Ryan Garrettson posting this clip. I don't know where this is from, but he says, I can't tell you how many of these videos I've seen of people believing Trump is requiring Quebec to get rid of French language as a part of the trade deal. Carney's vague press conference has propagated this absurd narrative. They knew what they're doing. They knew that this is the narrative that would happen, and that's why they did it. The Liberals are absolutely conniving. They're not honest people.
Guys, they wanted us to get rid of the French language in Quebec as part of a trade negotiation. That's like telling Alberta they're not allowed to have lifted trucks anymore. Like, you can't actually be mad we've said no to this.
Now, obviously, that's all bullcrap, but this is the narrative being pushed. Our country's full of lies because of the prime minister. They knew they were going downhill fast, so that's why they flared it up. Carney walked away from the deal. Minus 12.6, minus 13.1%. You can only imagine what other ridings would be across Canada. Meanwhile, Mark Carney comes out with this post. Can you spot it? What's wrong with this? Right away, the very first 2 words. Barbara Finley dedicated her life to making Canada a freer, more equal place where 2S LGBTQ, blah, 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 blah. He didn't spell her name with capitals. What is this? This is the guy who's supposed to be, representing Canada? I don't even say negotiating anymore, because he's not doing it. LeBlanc is doing all the negotiating. Meanwhile, something very startling going on here. We've got Embrandt posting this. He's updated this consumer price index since 1993. This is very startling. So just to break this down, you can see the projection here. So this was the between the red lines is kind of like where it was sitting. And you've got all the way back from Jean Chrétien. You can look at this red box here. That's Jean Chrétien's tenure. Paul Martin, the small one here, Stephen Harper, this blue box, this big red one here, Justin Trudeau, and then you had the new projection up here, the dotted lines. This Justin Trudeau plus 26.8%, that is over his tenure with the world event here. The consumer price index, the cost of goods in Canada, has increased 26% under him being prime minister, as compared to 17.6 for Stephen Harper, 4.9 for Paul Martin, and 19.8 for Jean Chrétien. Now, what Embrandt's really pointing out here is this dotted line here, where it's the new projection like this one, we've already broken above it. So I'm going to zoom right in here. You can see We're above this dotted line now. So this is trending up this way now. And this is a little confusing because Justin Trudeau is sitting here. This is just for the red box below. This is not for the dotted line. So we're trending above that consumer price index projected path now. So what is it? We're just going to be going straight up by 2030. What, a bag of green peas will be $10? $20? How much is it going to be? Guess it depends on how much money Mark Carney spends that we don't have. Even in the course of a couple of days, Mark Carney can't stick to one story or another. We got RMC 86 posting this comparison. This is like a day or two apart.
Canada will match Washington's new tariffs dollar for dollar in order to protect Canadian workers, farmers, families, and businesses.
Because of this, it will be difficult to have dollar for dollar. Always difficult to carry out dollar for dollar retaliation.
I'm sorry, what are we doing here? Is it dollar for dollar or is it not, Carney? Well, that's really $1.30 to dollar. Yeah, no kidding. And really, what's this all about? It's about China. As Ryan Garrettson's got posted here, this is China state-run media outlet cheering on Carney for launching Chinese-styled counterattack against the U.S. Carney is appeasing his masters and he will be rewarded handsomely. China praised Carney for walking away. Canada launches Chinese-style counterattack, a heavy blow, Global Times editorial. If Carney loves China so much, he should take his Liberal Party and move over there. Get out of Canada. It's one thing after the other. We got Andy Lee posting this. This is back from May 2026. North Ontario Chinese Chamber. What did Carney have to say? I'll give you a hint. It's something I mentioned in the previous video about the Chinese currency back when he was the governor of the Bank of England, the RMB, the renminbi.
But part of the solution is also the role of their currency, the role of renminbi, the opening up of their capital account. Is going to be a necessary part. And if you are, in his analogy, a rising power, economic power, which they certainly are, you have to assume more responsibility for the global international monetary and financial system. And that is one of the toughest things to do, that transition. But you've got to have to move, in my judgment, and I said it to him in private, I'm happy to say it in public, in my judgment, they need to move more rapidly and more deliberately on it. I think we need to help them in a way around the margin.
This guy's not working for Canada. He's working for China. He's been helping China for years, trying to get their money into the UK, into Canada. He's trying to get us tied in with China. And meanwhile, what's the situation now? Donald Trump, Scott Bessent, JD Vance, Jameson Greer, they all want this charlatan and his negotiators to come back to Washington and work out a deal. And he's like, no, we're just going to elbows up and get our numbers high in the polls. Meanwhile, real Canadians are losing their jobs and their livelihoods are being destroyed. And he doesn't give a crap about that. Meanwhile, on CBC,
now Carney has like the perfect scenario. He is back to the election prime minister where he has the country behind him. We are still in by-elections. We have a Quebec election and we have an Alberta referendum, and he is back to being Captain Canada. Like, the politics cannot be better. For all like the controversies that seem to be losing some progressive support, for example, on the pipeline going to BC's coast, on the Building Canada Act.
It's all politics. They don't care about Canadians losing their jobs.
Now he gets to rally everybody on these programs. And I think, to Andrew's point, I think the policy is like good policy, but it's also like fantastic politics. And even within his own cabinet, there were people who were concerned about what the prime minister was about to do. And now he gets to unify his caucus as well.
They're going to unify around him for now, because it's only when the ship starts to sink, then the rats start to scurry. But when there's lots to eat, then they all sit nice and happy.
The world has changed much since that last visit. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Canadian. Yeah, Mark Carney is trying to set up China to be the leader of the New World Order. He's their useful Western pawn to help get their money over into the UK, into Canada. He's trying his best to help China. America wants nothing to do with that. If you look at even things like DJI drones and cameras, that stuff's all getting banned in America. You can't even buy it down there. They have to buy that stuff from Amazon up here. When those new cameras get released here, they get sold out immediately because there's all these Americans buying them across the border. America's not having any of that. They're like, these are all spy technology. You can't directly sell that stuff in our country anymore. They're locking down everything. Meanwhile, Carney's opened the door wide open. Come on in, China. Why? Because he's in bed with them. He's got a big multi-$100 million loan that he got for Brookfield from them. As Embrand's pointing out here with Dominic LeBlanc here on CBC, he's talking about Chinese EVs.
I've seen the speculation, and Mr. Lutnick has publicly said some things about his view of the Canadian auto industry, obviously, which for us weren't compatible with having a Canadian and North American integrated auto industry that brings the competitiveness to the North American economy that we thought the Americans wanted.
They don't want the Chinese spy vehicles driving around America. And they're not going to work with Canada if we have Chinese spy vehicles driving around. And we're getting to the point where more and more of these things are coming in every month. Canadians are buying these things up. Oh, look, I got Chinese EV. It's like, yeah, you're not going to America with that. Does you really want to buy that? Are you never going to go to America? That's the decisions people are going to have to make now. Buying a vehicle that is never going to be allowed down in America. Well, who knows? Maybe AOC becomes president down there and changes the rules. But I mean, that's not something you want to bank on. It's all about China. So with all this going on, where we're getting tariffs hitting to the tune of like $28 billion here in Canada, shouldn't we be going back to Parliament? We've got Conservative Garnet Jennings here pointing out, maybe it's time to go back to Parliament, considering they're still off for another month.
During moments of upheaval and critical national conversations, it is important for Canada's Parliament to be engaged. Canadians elect members of Parliament who are their voices in the policymaking process. And we have a responsibility to constructively engage with and analyze government decisions at all times, especially at critical moments like this.
Carney doesn't want that because he doesn't want Pierre Poilievre grilling him in the House of Commons where that gets filmed and that gets pushed out everywhere. Carney wants the cameras gone. He wants to get us in bed with China. He wants to roll out the net zero agenda, get rich, and he doesn't care what happens to any of us.